believe this session is important for anyone who's planning or about to start a research. If you're not, you're still, we hope you'll still find this session useful. As you might all agree that writing literature review or doing literature review is the very first step in doing research. It helps in contextualizing your study, helps in identifying gaps in the literature, and later will help you as a researcher in communicating your contribution to the literature. To shed more light on the process on writing the literature review, we have today Mr. Ibrahim Madani. Mr. Ibrahim is certified IELTS trainer, certified writing tutor, and with extensive experience, and he's a member of the ALI. He's currently pursuing his PhD with interest in L1, L2 composition and implementation of creative and critical thinking strategies. It's our pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Ibrahim, today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Soham, for the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for attending. First of all, I just want to make sure that the sound is clear. You can hear me. All right. Okay. I'm going to share my screen with you right now.
Mr. Ibrahim, there is some echo in the background.
The sound echo, because in a locked place, in the locked room. So what about now?
Probably if you come closer to the mic or to the laptop, it will disappear.
I'm using a headset. Okay, is it clear now? Is it okay now? Okay.
Just now, yes. Just now, yes.
All right, great. Okay. I would like to use slideshow so you can follow easily. Okay, let's start. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. This workshop is going to be about literature review as suggested by the title. And we have got, according to the objectives set for this workshop, we'll start with the purpose of conducting purposes of conducting a literature review and some consideration in doing that. And we will look at how to validate resources in order to conduct a literature review. And we will look also at citation styles and we'll conclude by looking at some software and tools that can be used for literature review. All right, to begin with, we'll start with the purposes of conducting a literature review. You can guys use the microphones, or you can use the chat box to send your ideas. Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Rahim, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the sound quality is still not great. I wonder if you can do anything about it.
Okay, let me remove the headset and use the speaker, the microphone of the laptop. What about now?
Well, if you continue talking a bit,
Sorry?
um, I don't know if probably you come closer to the device, it might be better.
Okay, what about now? Is it okay now?
Yes, slightly better than before. Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay. Let's see what you have, the ideas you have about the purposes of literature review. If I ask this simple question, why do you think we conduct a literature review, or what is the importance of conducting literature review for a research? Can I see your ideas? Why should we start with this, conducting literature review, or the purposes, the possible purposes of that? Can I see your ideas? Okay. All right. Okay, great. Show successfully the study. All right, great. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Great ideas. Great ideas. Okay. I think some of your ideas will be reflected in this presentation. Let's move on and see the purposes. We cannot cover everything actually, but we try to highlight some of the important purposes of this. The first part, or the first purpose of conducting a literature review actually is setting the study context, or what we refer to as contextualization, because literature review provides a background information and sets the context for the research. And sometimes when we go for summarizing of the existing data and identifying the gaps of the literature, normally we set up the context for our upcoming study. So the first purpose, I think, is mentioned in the chat box. Some of you mentioned this. It's setting the context of the study. This is the first place. Next, before we conduct any literature review, we need to set or clearly articulate clearly research questions, because this will guide us for the relevant literature. So setting or defining our research question is the first step before we move on to the next part. Conducting literature review helps to us to establish a theoretical framework. I mean here, the relevant theories that you want to employ in your study, and the models that you want to follow in your study, and how to address your research questions. So one of the purposes of conducting literature review again is establishing a theoretical framework for the study, right? And sometimes literature review give us insights about the methodology that we should follow, because it reveals the research methods that have been used in similar studies. When I look at a number of studies relevant to my proposed study, this will give me insights about what study method should I follow and how to design my own research. So the second or the third here point is uh, 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 getting insights about the method or the methodology. Another point is of conducting literature review is to show the trends. You can get access to the recent trends in the research, and by that we mean when we look at the recent research conducted in the field, this will and how these trends or findings can inform your hypotheses and objectives. So here, identifying the trends, that means looking or focusing more on recent data or recent research in the field in order to, yes, in order to form your own, yeah, yes, form your research hypothesis or objective. Okay, another point here, it's important for a researcher to conduct literature review because when you review literature, this will give you insights about how significant your study will be and the ways in which it is going to contribute to the literature in the field. So validating, that means showing how valid your study is and how important. Here in this point, we have to highlight two things. The first one is how significant the study is and how significant the study will be and how is it going to contribute to the available data or literature in the field. So validating the significance of the study of the research is one of the purposes of conducting literature review, right? And here, another point is avoidance of repetition. When I look and study the literature review, actually, I will decide if my study is a repeat study or is a duplication of an existing study. So it's important and very necessary to establish your research based on looking at the available data, especially the recent research, and therefore decide what research question to have in the study. Right, so avoidance of duplications and avoidance of repeat studies is something very important. Next, building credibility. And by that, we mean a well-crafted literature review. If you do the literature review in a well or in a perfect way, this will show that the researcher is familiar with the subject matter of his study, and this will enhance credibility and authorship. So here, building credibility depends mainly on doing the literature review in a perfect way, because this shows or demonstrates the researcher's familiarity with the subject matter of his study. Here, just to conclude here, at this point, literature review is essential for grounding the research in the existing knowledge and justifying the study's relevance or the significance of the study. All right, I would like to see your contribution and your ideas in the chat box as well if you have. Yeah, yes, Ria, thank you so much. Yeah, summarizing some research and particular topic helping to. Okay, thank you, Ria. I agree with you. That's really what, yeah, one of the major purposes of literature review. So let's move on. When we conduct literature review, there are important things that we should consider, right? And let's see what to consider in conducting our literature review. So here, there are several important considerations to keep in mind, okay, to ensure the effectiveness and comprehensiveness of your literature review. The first here, you have to set the purpose and the scope of your study. You have to be very clear in your mind about the scope and the purpose of your study. And that is by defining the objectives. Clearly articulate or define the purpose of literature review. Is it for the purpose of summarizing just the research and identifying the gaps, or just for providing theoretical framework? We discussed this in the beginning. We said that the purpose of literature review is for establishing theoretical framework using certain models or certain theories for the research. And also, it's important for establishing or conducting literature review. We need to set the boundaries of our of our review, and that by being determining the scope. Yeah, how to make your yeah, the limitation of the study, and here the scope of your review, and that is by including a time frame, topics, and types of studies to include. Yeah, you have to be, we'll talk about this point later. Yeah, in the upcoming slides, we see how we can make our research or our review very specific and guided by the research questions. And here also you have to consider your research strategy. I mean, when you search for articles or when you search for relevant studies to include in your review, you have to be very careful in choosing your keywords and your phrases when you search to get to get the relevant sources. And also, you have to be very careful in choosing the database, okay? Database selection. Choose appropriate academic databases. Because we see there are some how to validate the sources. This is one of our parts, and this major part of the workshop, right? So, database selection should be done according to, yeah, yeah, here you have to choose appropriate academic database, right? Okay. Another thing that you should consider in doing your literature review, you have to build something called inclusion and exclusion criteria. This is also related in a way or another to relevance, looking for relevant material and reliable sources for the literature review. For example, establish a clear criteria for including and excluding studies. There will be many studies, and this is also related to your search strategy. You have to use, uh, you have to specify the keywords and the phrases that you use for searching, and you have to set up this criteria for excluding and including, what to include and what to exclude from the study based on the relevance, the quality, and the publication date. Of course, as we said, focus on research, up-to-date research, and also the methodology used, because this will give you insights about what method to follow in your, especially related studies, similar studies. And here, and this is one of the major parts of today's presentation, is the quality of sources, how to validate the resources. You can also work on the credibility. And that means your priority should go to the peer-reviewed articles. By peer-reviewed articles that normally published in reputable journals, and this will ensure the reliability of your sources. So here, I mean, it's better to go for the peer-reviewed journals or articles, right? We'll talk about the validation of this material or of the sources. And before you choose an article or a study, you have to look at the author's expertise or consider his qualification, okay, as an author. And this will also help you decide whether to include or exclude a certain study. And when you are doing your review of literature, you have to use critical evaluation of the data or of the study you have, right? And you have to assess and analyze the methodologies used in the study, and you have to look at areas of strength and areas of weaknesses. Another point also, you have to identify the biases. Sometimes potential bias happen in the research, and we will see, we have some examples about how this research studies can be sometimes affected by the bias. All right. Okay, now we move on to the next point. Okay, here the synthesis of information, but we mean when you write your literature review, you have to organize your literature in themes. This is something to do with organization. You have to organize your review according to themes and categories. This will provide clear structure of your literature review. So you have to Pay attention to this when you are conducting your literature. All right, review. Okay. You also use comparative analysis. You need to compare. It's not just merely listing the studies or summarizing them, right? It's about looking up or handling this material or handling the data in a critical way. You have to use comparative analysis, compare, contrast findings of different studies. Okay. Okay. Another important point about identification of the gaps, this is, we talked about this in the beginning. We said the need for the study or the significance of the study. So if it is not a repeat study or if it has not been done before, so we have to highlight the unexplored areas, right? You have to identify areas where research is lacking or where more investigation is needed. I think this is very important, identifying the gaps in the literature while you're doing your review. Okay, and I think this is another important part of writing or conducting review is the writing style, right? Okay, when you write your review, you have to be very clear and concise. And I think there was a workshop about academic writing conventions which you should follow. You have to use clear and concise language, and you have to avoid jargons and figurative language. You have to, yeah, be academic or use academic language, right? And also you have to ensure the logical flow of your ideas, okay? And ensure that your review has logical structure and it allows a smooth transition between the sections and the themes you are moving around your review. Okay, we will talk about citation and referencing. Citation and referencing is also something to consider how to conduct or how to do citation styles or citation methods. Use consistent, here the keyword is consistency. You have to use consistent citation style throughout your review and ensure all the sources are properly cited. And another important point, and I think this is one of the major points you need to consider, is avoidance of plagiarism. You can paraphrase, you can summarize, you can quote, you can write whatever, but you have to give the credit to the authors. You have to credit the authors. All right. Another important point you need to consider in your review is getting feedback and revision. So we have to seek input. We need to share our work or our review or the draft with the peers or mentors, supervisors, whoever engaged in research, and we get constructive feedback, right? We will use this constructive feedback for the purpose of revision. So you have to revise thoroughly and be open-minded to revising your work based on feedback that you get from from the revision. You get feedback from peers or supervisors or other researchers. This will improve clarity and coherence of your work. All right. Okay. And here we go back to the first point. You have to incorporate recent research. You have to be or stay up to date. Regularly check for new publications and recent trends in the research, especially in the field of your interest and the things that are related to your proposed study. So this will help you to keep your review up to date. All right. Now I think we reach the end of this part. By considering the factors that we mentioned, you can enhance quality and relevance of your literature review and thus making it valuable contribution to the field by conducting, significant research. Right. Now we move on to the next part. This is about validating the resources or sources. Before I start discussing this point, I want to see, yeah, guys, what do you think? How can we validate the sources? Or you can say the criteria for selecting sources. We mentioned some of the criteria. I want to see your ideas. Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah, Sophia. Yeah, that's right. Yes, the number of citations. Yeah, number of reference. All right, great. Uh-huh. Journal quality. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Thank you. Another impact factor. Yes. Okay. Great. Great. Thank you so much for your ideas. Yes, impact factor of the UNO. Thank you, Sumaya. All right, impact. Okay, I think here we have got many ideas, and you will see what some of the ideas I listed here. Maybe you mentioned many of them here in your participation. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's go back to the point, the last point here. Validation of the sources is very important because if you depend on reputable or reliable resources, this will give credit to your research for sure. Yes, yes, reviewed articles. Yeah, yes, that's right. Jada. Thank you. So I think we mentioned this authorship. I mean the qualification of the author. We have to look at the qualification of the author or the writer. You see one of the pioneers in the field, one of the authors. I mean one of the reputable authors. So check the author's credentials, academic background, expertise in the field. So we need to know. And also we need to think about affiliations. And we mean by this the institution or organization that the author is associated with. So organization give credit to the author. For example, if the author is, for example, published in Cambridge, or let's say Cambridge Press, this will give credit to the author because it's reputable uh, publishing institution. All right, so this will enhance in a way or another the credibility. So reputable institutions or publishers. So here in these 2 points we say qualification of the author, background, his expertise, and also the institution he belongs or associated with. All right, let's move on. So here we look at the publishing institution or the publication. And some of you mentioned that peer-reviewed journals or peer-reviewed articles normally are very reliable. So we have to determine if the source is from a peer-reviewed journal. So this is a classification, right? This is a category of journal. So peer-reviewed journal. And this indicates that the article has undergone rigorous evaluation by experts. All right, and this is a repeated point. The publisher reputation, and we mean here the institution, the publishing institution, whether it is reputable, famous, right, or established academic publishers, will make your sources more reliable or makes the topic more reliable. Okay. Another thing is the study design. When I look at the study, I will look at the design of the research before I select it for my review. So, and by study design, we mean here we evaluate the research design. It doesn't matter if it is qualitative or a mixture of both. We look how it is appropriate for my present research. So appropriateness for the research question, right? And also, when I look at this study, I also look at the size and of the sample size and the selection criteria of subjects, and consider the sample size because and how the participants were selected, this selection criteria. And normally, larger, well randomized samples typically yield to more reliable results. So I have to think on this criteria for choosing or validating my resource. I have to look at these 2 points. Next, and the findings and contributions. This is another point which I would like to look at. The findings and the contributions of the study. The main contributions, right? Identify the key findings and contribution of the study. I don't have to look just at the, uh, I don't have to look at the abstract. I need to look at the details of how, look at the details of the findings of the study. Do they contribute to knowledge in any way? And also, we look at consistency with other research. That means compare the findings with those of other studies, right? Are they consistent? Okay. Or do they present new perspectives? Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's move on. There is a point here about the bias, and I think the bias always affect the findings and the credibility of the research. So we have to look for any signs of bias in my research or in the research that I'm about to use in my review. So in research or study such as funding sources, sometimes funding sources and sometimes the researcher's beliefs can affect results and conclusion of the study. So we have to look for signs of potential bias in our or in the study that we are about to choose for our literature review. Sometimes limitations. This point is very important. Sometimes, if the researcher acknowledges his limitation in the study, or saying that the weaknesses of his study, and he's just showing some kind of transparency, okay? This is the sign of academic integrity. And this is very important. We have to show if the author is really mentioning this, acknowledging the limitation in their study, this is very important. And they are showing transparency. All right, so here we have to look at these points, and also we need to consider the relevance of or relevance to my present or my proposed research. And you see how well the source fits and aligns with my research questions or research objectives. Does it provide useful insights or data or not? So here we have to use or look for relevance of the study to my research questions. Okay, and also citations. And this is mentioned by some of you in the chat. Citations. If you check how often the source has been cited by others, I mean, frequent citation is a sign of what, or indication of what? The influence and relevance in the field. So also the number of citations is very important. We will see how many times the source is cited. Okay, yeah, okay, Sophia. Okay, I agree with you. What if it is recent study paper? Okay, I will look for other factors, right? If, yes, well, that's fine. If it is a recent research, I will look for other factors, like I look at the researchers, okay, background, okay, and how many reference they use also right now. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you all for your points. And I think they are valid points and valid questions. Another thing that you need to consider in your writing is the quality of writing. And we mentioned this in a separate workshop about conducting research paper using academic language or academic language. Here, by academic language or academic writing, we mean clarity, and you have to be very clear, precise, right? You have to evaluate the writing style of clarity and precision. And always well-written articles are typically more reliable. So you have to, yes, make your writing. So the quality of writing and the logical structure. Also, we look at the logical structure of the article. The first point is important. The way the writer writes, right? His writing style, whether it's clear or direct, simple, straightforward, not complicated, academic. That's a good point. And also the logical structure of the research. Look for logical flow in the argumentation, argumentation or organization of the paper. So these are the things I need to, yes, and also one last point here, the ethical approval. For example, sometimes studies involving humans or animals or any subjects, we have to check if ethical approval was obtained. And we also do this when we conduct, for example, a questionnaire or any experiment. We always get the subject consent and agreement about their participation. So here, this is something to do with the subjects and whether, okay, to conclude this part, applying these criteria systematically, you can critically evaluate the sources. So these criteria will help you evaluate and build the inclusion exclusion criteria effectively. This will ensure that your literature review is grounded in high quality, credible research. All right. Okay, Dr. Kamal. Okay, thank you so much. What if the organization, right? The organization doesn't have, yes, organizations do not have ethical committee for approval. I think this depends on where and when you conduct your research. But here, at least you just show this because here it's about the selection of the topic. I simply, if I do not notice any signs of ethical approval, I can simply exclude the article. If I'm not 100% sure this will contribute to my study, I can simply exclude it and go for another source. All right. Okay, now we move on to the citation style. I collected a number of sources and I have undergone series of validation phases until I finalize my sources. Now I want to use the literature to cite this in my writing. Let me see your ideas about the citation styles. What do you think, guys? Citation styles. Should I follow consistent or a mixture of citation styles? What do you think? Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Consistent one. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think that's right. Okay. Thank you all. For the citation, we are going to look at three examples of citation style. The citation that we use in the research list. All right. for reference list, right? And the second one, in-text citation, and then the indirect citation. So we'll see that just examples how to cite this. The first one is, let's look at the first example we have here. If we look at this APA style, citing the sources, normally, I think you are familiar with this. I mean, if you are familiar, maybe we can look at other examples, right? The APA style, we have to write like the author, and then the year of publication, the title of the work, and then use the publisher. Just like here, for example, Smith J, 2020, Understanding Psychology, this is the title of the work, and Psychology Press, this is the publisher. This is the most common yeah, APA style citation of the research list, example, for forming the research list. Another okay. The second one is the MLA or Modern Language Association. The format is author's last name, we start on the first name, the title of the work, and publisher and the year. It's a little bit different from that of the APA, like John Smith, Smith John, Understanding Psychology, Psychology Press. See the difference between the two? And also, here we have another style, which is uh, Chicago Tribune, which is the format is we start with the author's last name, first name, the year, the title of work, publisher. For example, Smith John, 2020, Understanding Psychology, Psychology Press. You know, this is how we cite this. We have, at the end of this workshop, I'm going to show you some of the software. We are not going to get into details of this, but I will share the link to tutorials so you can learn more about these tools and software which we use for um, yes, for citation. But here is just like overview, a quick overview of the different techniques used. For Harvard, they use author, last name, and then first initials, year of publication, the title of work, and the publisher, just like the example. Smith, J. 2020, Understanding Psychology, Psychology Press. This is not very different from the previous ones. It's a style. And also Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE. The format, we use authors, title of the article, see the title of the journal, volume, the page number, and we write the month and then the year, just like citing journal, like that here, title, then see J. Smith, Understanding Psychology. This is the name of what? First, the title of the article, and then the title of the journal. Title of the journal comes next, and then we write the volume, the number, and the pages, and then we write the month and then the year of publication. All right. And here, just to summarize what we said about this making research or reference list, we always check the specific guidelines for your assignment or for your publication. It depends on the study you are about to conduct and the guidelines provided by your study or institution or provided by your supervisor. So you have to consider this before you go for any of the styles of citation. So you decide this according to the guidelines of your study. And you have to be consistent, and this is mentioned by many of you. You stress this point, you have to be consistent with the chosen style throughout your document, whether it's a research paper or whether it's a thesis or dissertation, whatever. And also you can use citation management software. There is a part of this workshop about citation management software and tools like Zotero, Mendeley, or EndNote. A number of them are listed in the upcoming part of the workshop. So in text citation, I have to go through this quickly because I don't know if the time allows or not. I have to show you some of the software and some of the tools that you can use for arranging your literature review or citation and referencing and all this. So here, the in-text citation, when I cite something within the text, I use, for example, APA style, author, and then the year. For example, Smith 2020. Right. For the MLA, we use just author, last name, page number, example, Smith 23. All right. All right. Next, we'll move on to the next one for Chicago. Yes, a format is author, year, page number, just like Smith, 2020, 45. I think you can see the examples. I don't know if it's clear. Can you see them clearly on the screen, guys? Uh, Examples, for example, footnote, you can use this sign here. I'm giving you this example. John Smith, Understanding Psychology, New York, Psychology Press, and then 2020, and then comma, outside the bracket we have, or the parentheses we have 45. All right. So here for in-text citation style, always match the in-text citation style to your reference list. You know, this is consistency. It's what we refer to as consistency. You have to match the in-text citation. For example, if you follow APA style, you have to follow this in your entire work, in your inside of in-text citation or reference list. And also ensure that all cited work in the text are included in your reference list. So ensure that, yeah, whenever you mention any of this citation in your work, you have to reflect that in your bibliography or reference list. And also, when for direct quotation of sentences or whatever, you have to specify the page number or number of page. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim. I think it would be better if we leave leave some time for questions from the audience, if you don't mind.
All right. Okay. Maybe I just want to show them quickly in 1 minute the resources,
All right.
the software. Software. Yes. I will skip these parts and I will go to without any detail. Just show them. They can go for the tutorials later. Indirect citation. Yeah, you know, there is, okay. Also very important when you mention indirect citation, have you say as cited in, you know, this is very, very important point. You can see that when you cite something from the original source, you have to add the word as cited in. For example, this one. Let me go, skip this part. Tools and software. I mentioned this before. You can use Zotero and you can search for more. It's a very useful tool. And Mendeley is a reference manager. You know, these are some of them are reference management software. And then we have just like EndNote, and we have note-taking applications. These some of them are applications like Evernote. This is note-taking tool, and we have Microsoft Note. Yes, OneNote. This is also for taking note. We can also go for the tutorials and Notion also. And mind mapping tools like MyMeister. This one is very useful. You can use it for using in project. And Xmind is another tool, and Trello. So this is project management tool. It's very useful. You can refer to and you can use in your or managing your resource. And Asana is another tool that you can use. See a number of tools. So I would like to thank you all for your contribution and thank you for your attendance, for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim. I just want to bring everyone's attention that this session has been recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so you can go back to it, catch up on anything you've missed at any point. Probably, Mr. Ibrahim, you wanna leave the slide on the citation? Someone asked if we can keep it to the last.
Yeah, sure, sure. Of course. I will forward it to you, and I can you can add it to the website. No problem.
Okay, so
For
we've got
sure.
a few questions here. Safia is asking, following the ABA citation style, is it sufficient to include the citation at the end of the paragraph? Or, yeah. So where do
Okay,
you?
I think this. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, I think the citation style depends on yeah, your study guidelines. You know, the choice of the style depends mainly on the institution. Some institutions prefer certain yeah, citation style, and maybe you yeah, this kind of citation will mainly guided by the study orientation. Yeah, and if you follow, for example, APA style, you have to stick to the conventions of APA. All right. Am
Thank
I
you.
answered the question? Yeah.
Yeah, Safia, if you have further questions that you can post here. Mm. All right. So here we have another question regarding Manal is asking, how can I find gaps in the literature review? How can I like identify gaps?
Okay, this is, I think you have to do extensive reading and you have to start with the careful selection of relevant resources. And if you are interested in certain area, you have to choose very carefully the relevant sources. You look at the sources and from the sources, especially recent ones, you can decide where the gap is or how your research can contribute by avoiding, yeah, you are not going to repeat what has been, for example, mentioned in the research. So the first thing to do is to choose relevant recent research and you have to find the gaps in these researches and to relate this to your research questions. All right.
All right. Thank you for that. Um, we're waiting for further questions from the audience. Meanwhile, I've got a question myself. What do you think, Mr. Ibrahim, the best solution to the trend? I don't want to call it a trend, but there's like this misconception about literature review writing where people sometimes, like novice researcher, um, students in their early stages of writing research, might
Yeah.
get into the habit of thinking that writing a literature review means writing a series of summaries of previous studies.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the question. I think I said this, I mentioned this among my discussion. I said that it is not only or merely summarizing or writing a summary of the study. It's not merely summary because the summary is already there. The abstract summarizes the story. So if you just copy paste the abstract, this will not make a literature review. You have to handle it critically and you have to look at everything in the study. Look at the findings, look at the methodology followed, look at the even the style of the writing. You have to compare, contrast, You for everything. It's not just merely for just listing the sources. Okay.
And then at a later stage, there comes the organization. Like you go and dig for knowledge in the literature, you come back with the knowledge, and then you organize the knowledge. You want to put it into like a structure before you present it to the reader, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And also you have to follow or thematic construction of your literature review, and this depends on your outline. Okay, the parts of your literature. You have to decide how many parts are you going to have in your review, and you have to follow a smooth transition between the sections, between the themes of your literature review. Yeah, this is very important point. Yeah, we should be very careful about how to structure the deep research.
Yes, exactly. So it's about like organizing define your findings after reading so much about the topic into themes, as you said, and then finding the links between ideas and then presenting them in a comprehensible way that communicate your idea. So it's not so much about who wrote what. It's about sometimes it is, but it's not the primary focus. It is so much about what has been written, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, you can get insights from the research. That's why when we say it's important to look for the relevant sources, and you have to be very selective in the sources that will serve your or address your research questions. So setting or deciding your research question is a basic step. The first thing to do is to decide your research question, and then afterwards you have to look for the relevant literature. All right, because when you go through these sources, especially reliable sources, you will get insights about, well, maybe you can change your research questions.
Yes.
Yes.
I think we have reached the end of our the time of our session today. I'd like to seize the opportunity to thank you so much for your time with us, and thank everyone who has attended our session today. And yes, we have another session coming up on critical evaluation, critical strategies in academic research. So if anyone is interested into that, you're very welcome to join our session. Please check our program for this semester to know the dates and timing. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have left your feedback um, through the form, through the link I have sent. Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim, for this very informative session. Wish you all the luck and hope to see you with us maybe next semester.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suha, and thank you all for your contribution, participation, and for your kind words. I really appreciate that. Have a good
Okay.
night.
Yeah. Fi aman nillah, everyone.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much.